Hello everyone, I'm going to go ahead and give you your Tokushima Orientation for senior high school ALTs. So let's go ahead and get started. So for today's orientation, I'm going to go over a few different things. First, I'm going to start with a very quick self-introduction about myself. Then I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of your school and what you'll typically see in a senior high school. And then I'm going to go over some of the roles of being an ALT. Then I have a quick demonstration lesson that I did with some first years. I'm going to give you some useful materials that you can use in your class, and then also some quick and easy lesson fillers. So a quick introduction about myself. So my name is Angela Panzica. I'm from Michigan in the USA, and I am currently located in Annan City in Tokushima Prefecture. So Annan City is about 45 minutes south of Tokushima by train or by car, and we live right on the coast. So definitely come and visit, and we can go to the beach or hang out. It's really fun. I am also the historian and internal coordinator for AJET. So internal coordinator is pretty much just the secretary, but as historian I also am in charge of the yearbook. So every year we do a yearbook, including pictures of ALTs doing different activities and events, so look forward to that, and I will also be contacting you for pictures in the future. So for school life, every ALT is going to have a very different situation. We teach at a different number of schools and have very different schedules, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about my schedule so you can get kind of an idea of maybe what your situation will be like. So for me personally, I am currently teaching at 3 different high schools. Normally I only teach at 2 different high schools, but due to coronavirus and the lack of ALTs in Japan, I am now at 3 high schools. So my main school is Tomioka Nishi High School, which is that very first school, and I teach there on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays currently. So at Nishi, I teach first years around 6 classes every week, and I also teach the second years. I usually do about 3 classes a month for second years. I also teach at Tomioka Higashi High School on Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays, my work hours are from about 1 o'clock until around 7:30, 8 o'clock-ish. The reason for that is I teach one first year class in the morning, class 13, but in the afternoon I teach the night class. So the night class is part-time high school students. They take 4 years instead of 3 years to finish high school, and they tend to be a lower English level. So I also teach them on Wednesdays. And finally, on Fridays, I teach at the Honora branch of Tomioka Higashi, which is the nursing school. And I teach all students. So the first 3 years are high school students, and then there's also 2 years of college level students. So I do English lessons with all of them, and I usually do around 3 to 4 classes each week. Now I'm going to go over some of your roles as an ALT. So first of all, I'm going to talk about some of the phrases that you might hear. So first you might hear JTE. Your JTE are any of your Japanese teachers who teach English. You might also hear the term T1. So T1 is the main teacher for the lesson, whereas the T2 is the assistant teacher for the lesson. When you're teaching classes, with some JTEs, you might be the T1, which means you're going to be planning and conducting most of the lesson by yourself. And in other situations, you will be the T2, which means the JTE will be conducting most of the lesson, and you're just there to help either with the students or with certain activities. So, some of the roles as an ALT. The most obvious one, of course, is going to be creating and giving lessons. So there are many different types of lessons you might have to give. The first are going to be grammar lessons. Those are going to be pretty rare. Most teachers prefer to teach grammar themselves. But be prepared because you might teach a few grammar lessons from time to time. The next type of lesson is going to be presenting a section or a chapter from a textbook or one of their reading sections. So they might be doing a story on different cultural events or different historical people from Japan or all over the world, and you might have to give a lesson on that. So think of something creative. Next, you might have to do some type of review activity. So this is one of my most common type of lessons. My teachers will do a whole lesson of grammar and then ask me to do one lesson that reviews all the grammar the students have learned through some type of fun activity or game. And the last thing is going to be culture or holiday lessons. So as an ALT, one of your main roles is also to share your culture from your home country. So your teachers are going to ask you to present about holidays or cultures from your country. For example, you're going to get questions about New Year's and Christmas, Thanksgiving if you're from America. So maybe have some pictures from home for that as well. So your second role as an ALT is going to be grading and correcting essays, tests, or assignments. For this, it's really important to stay organized. Remember which teacher gave you which papers so that you can give them back to the correct teacher. And make sure that you ask lots of questions about how teachers want things to be graded and whether or not you are supposed to be assigning points or just grading things for accuracy. It's also a really good idea to actually ask your teachers to help make the test or to help check the test. There are going to be times when you're pretty free as an ALT, and this is a way to give yourself some more work and to help out your JTEs who can get pretty busy sometimes. It's also recommended that you give homework and worksheets to your students. It'll also give you something to do and just to see how your students are doing with the lessons that you've given. Your next role as an ALT is going to be after school help. So after school, there's lots of different things you'll be helping students with. This includes Eiken practice. So the Eiken is an English test many Japanese students will take. It's a good way for them to show colleges and such what level their English is at. So the Eiken has both a reading, a writing, and a speech portion. So you might be helping with any of those. You can also be helping with the speech contest, the writing contest, college entrance exams, and also college interviews. So be prepared for all of that as well. If you do stay after school to help students, it is technically considered overtime, and so you should be getting what's called daikyu for staying after. I would discuss that with your supervisor just to make sure that you're not overworking yourself. And finally, your last role is going to be English club. So most schools have an English club unless you're a really small school with no students who are interested. So for English club, you usually meet only once a week, sometimes less if there's exams, sometimes more if the students really love English. For English club, at least for mine, we like to do lots of different games. We like to do mini presentations. Either I'll give a presentation on something, or the students will have to research something they like and give a presentation. I also sometimes do mini grammar lessons, just to help with something students tend to have problems with. We might also watch videos or movies, TV shows type of thing, and then sometimes we also do culture lessons. So these are some of your roles as an ALT. Obviously each school is going to be very different, but these are some things to expect. So now I'm going to give you a quick little tour of a typical senior high school, and it might seem a little bit silly, but a few of these things might help you. The first thing is going to be changing your shoes when you enter the high school. Most high schools in Japan, you wear different shoes outside and inside, so make sure you bring slippers on your first day. And I have a quick video to show you. So as you see, you have your own little locker, and you will change your shoes when you come in. Next, I'm going to show you bathrooms. So in the bathrooms, there's going to be the girls' bathroom and the boys' bathroom. You can tell by that first kanji, the first character there. I'm a girl, so I will show you the girls' bathroom. So first, when you go to the bathroom, you need to make sure you always remember your towel. There are not going to be paper towels, so make sure you bring your own little towel. Then you're going to change your shoes and put on your bathroom slippers. And if you are lucky, your school will have a Western toilet. So my school does have a Western toilet. And if you are super lucky, you will have a heated Western toilet. So the seats are heated, which is amazing in the winter. Or you will have the normal squatty potty toilets. So it is up to you, but use whichever one you want. And after you're finished, obviously go back and you're going to put on your school slippers again. And then you are going to go ahead and grab your towel and wash your hands, and that's it. Last, I'm going to show you how to use the copier. So the copiers in Japan might be a little bit different, and they're in Japanese. So first you want to load your paper. I always use the A4 size paper. So you can go ahead and put it in there, and it'll even tell you, see, A4, and so you know you have the right size. Next, you're going to turn the printer on, copier, sorry. So hit that blue button, and it'll turn it on, and that's what it'll look like. And you will see that this little blue light is here. You want to hit the one that's next to it in the left. Then you're going to go ahead and open the copier and put your worksheet or whatever in there. So this is my worksheet that I'm copying. You're going to turn it over and put it in long ways, and you want it to match up with the A4 at the top and the bottom. Now you're going to close the top. And you are not going to enter any numbers, you're just going to hit the big blue button. And what this is doing is making a print, and it'll tell you that it's making the print, and it'll take about a minute. It actually takes a while. So this is actually making like the template for your copies, so you always have to do this first. And it doesn't take too long, but once it is ready, it'll pop out on the other side. And there's your worksheet, so you can check it, make sure it looks good, the size is right. Then you'll see that the blue light has changed to the right side. So after this, you're going to enter how many copies you want. So figure out how many kids are in your class, and you're going to go ahead and enter that number and hit the big blue button, and it will go ahead and quickly start printing all of those for you. And it shoots them out really quickly, so you'll be able to do many copies very fast. So the initial worksheets that you make, print from your normal printer, but when you're making copies for classes, use this printer because it is cheaper for the school. And that's it. Now I'm going to give you a quick lesson demonstration. I'm going to be showing you the lesson I did for the Landmark textbook, Lesson 9, Part 1. It's about the space elevator. So with most lessons, I like to start with some type of warm-up, and the students will work in pairs to answer some type of question. So as you can see in the bottom part, I've shown you typically what type of like an outline I'll make. So for this lesson, it's going to be a 15-minute lesson. So I also break down about how long the students will spend on each portion so that I have a general idea. So the first part is that warm-up, and I'm going to give the students about 7 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean by the warm-up. So this is going to be the first slide in my presentation. I'm going to show the picture of Alyssa Carson, and I'm going to ask the students to guess why is she famous. They're allowed to work in pairs, and I told them I'll give them about 5 minutes to go ahead and write one sentence about why they think she is famous. So the students are going to talk with each other a little bit and write something down, and then afterwards I like to try and ask 1 or 2 people what they wrote. For this specific one, the most common answers were she is the first female to go to space, and the other one was she is the first girl to go to Mars. So for the next part of the lesson, I'm giving them a presentation about Alyssa Carson, and they also have a worksheet that they're going to be completing as they listen to my presentation. So I'm going to give them time after each slide just to answer some of the questions, but I'm going to go ahead and show you what the next slide is going to look like. So this was the next slide. I just told them a little bit about Alyssa Carson and why she's famous, and in their worksheet, the first question that they have is they have to list at least 2 of her achievements. So the reason why I do use the word achievements is because the word achieve is going to be one of their vocabulary for this lesson. So I wanted to try and introduce that into the lesson as well.
Good. So these are all achievements. Like, I won the game. That is an achievement. So,
So as you could hear, I told them to go ahead and write 2 different achievements. I gave them an example of an achievement. I didn't go too much into detail because the students understood what I meant. So now the students are going to take some time, write down 2 different achievements. They're going to pretty much just copy it from the board, and they're allowed to talk to each other if they have any questions. So the next slide I show is just a little bit more about Alyssa Carson and what inspired her interest into going to Mars. So for this question, they have to answer what show inspired her, so that would be the Backyardigans. So this is the next slide. I asked the students to write down an important event that will happen in their lifetime, and then I gave them different examples. So I'll go ahead and show you my demonstration of this, and then I'll go ahead and show you some of the other things I did after the students had finished answering.
So now I want you to think. This is a very difficult question, but I want you to think. Right now you are in high school, and I want you to think, what important events, what important things will happen in your generation, in your lifetime? So in the next 60, 70, 80 years, what is something really cool you think will happen? For example, maybe we will have flying cars, or maybe we will have teleportation, big word. Maybe we will have movies in 5D. Maybe there will be a woman prime minister in Japan. Maybe we will have sushi donuts at Sushiro. Maybe cars can drive by themselves. Maybe you can download your brain to a computer. Okay? So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. I want you to think really hard. What is something really cool you want to happen in the next 80 years? Okay? Okay, so now what I want you to do is you are going to get in groups of 3 or 4, maybe 5 people. So a small group of people. And I want you to share your ideas with your group. Please share your ideas with your group. Then you are going to vote. Whose idea is the best? Whose idea is the coolest? And you are going to write that idea on the board. Okay?
So afterwards, I went ahead and also explained to each of the groups again what they need to do, just to make sure that they knew what to do. And then one person from each of the groups came up to the board and wrote their best idea. And then afterwards, I'm going to talk about it with the class, and we are going to see which one is the best.
Okay, so let's read. So the first one is flying cars. Let's start with flying cars. Then we have go beyond time and space. So time travel. Time travel. Making drama. How do you make drama? Please try. No animals mind. So like talk to animals. That's cool. So go back to the past by a time machine. So time machine, 2 time machines. And 100% powered by renewable energy. So no more gas, no more coal. That's a good thing. Chicken will be macho. So we need to, the chicken needs to work out. Super real robots of beautiful girls. So I think this will be very expensive. A lot of money. So maybe you cannot buy. Full drive VR game console. Wow, so you can drive. So for this one, you can buy a car and just drive the car. Also very easy. Communicate with our pets. Talk to animals. But what if your pet does not like you? A little bit sad then. Okay. So now we are going going to read about something that maybe will happen, that sounds really cool, and that is the space elevator. An elevator from Earth into space. I think it is very, very scary, but it is also really cool. So please take out your textbooks. We are going to read. Alright, so we are on lesson 9, part 1, page 139. 139. Okay, so I want you to please read this section. Please read this section. And on your worksheet, there are 3 questions about your reading. 3 very, very easy questions. So when you finish reading, please answer your questions. Okay?
So just for reference, this is what the lesson was. It's the space elevator, and then this is the part 1 section. So the questions they had to answer was, where does an astronaut go? They go to space. The second question was about the president of the space elevator program. And then the last question was, what year will the space elevator be ready? Which is 2050. And so the students did that by themselves. So for the rest of the class, the students read the passage to themselves quietly, and then afterwards I read the entire passage to them out loud just to hear the pronunciation and such. And then we answered the questions on the worksheet together, and that was the end of class. And it was timed pretty perfectly. The bell rang about a minute after we finished the questions, and the students were able to put their desks back. So as an ALT, you're going to be making a lot of different lessons, so it is going to be helpful to have different materials to draw inspiration from. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Teamwork Tokushima. So Teamwork Tokushima is a publication made every couple months by ALTs in Tokushima. There are lessons for junior high school, senior high school, Eikaiwa, and elementary also. And you should have a bunch of these at your desk already from previous ALTs, and they're going to be super duper helpful for you. So the first page is going to have a table of contents, and that will direct you to the senior high school page. So this is the senior high school page, and on the next page is going to have a table of contents of all the different lessons within the senior high school section. And in this, it's also going to show you the different lessons with all the materials you'll need for the lessons and how to conduct the lessons. So it's a very, very, very helpful document. If you don't have any Teamwork Tokushimas, go ahead and contact AJET and we can try and get some older copies to you. They are going to be very useful, especially in times where you need to come up with a game or activity and you don't have much time to plan. So the next helpful thing is going to be the English Education Research Journal. So this is published every year by the Tokushima Prefecture, and as you can see, there should be a couple copies in your bookcase. And there's going to be a section called On English Education, and in there are going to be a bunch of articles written by past ALTs, such as this one, that you can read that might be helpful or inspiring to you. There's also going to be this section, which is about the speech contest. So you'll help your students with the speech contest every year, and this will help you because it shows the different winners from previous years, and it also shows you the complete speeches for the top winners, so you can look at those and see what the winning speeches looked like. So you'll also have a list of all of the winners for the writing competition, and it will show you the top 3 essays from the winners of the previous year, and it will also tell you what the prompt was, and this will help you with the writing composition that your students will also be participating in most likely. So the last material is going to be from the British Council. So this is the British Council website. You can go here to find more teaching resources, such as lesson plans. So on this website, you're just going to scroll down a little bit and go ahead and click on the section called lesson plans. Then you're going to choose the level of your students. So as you can see, there's the pre-intermediate A2. So you can decide what level your students are at and you click on there. And there will be lots of different lessons you can choose from, such as this one about chocolate. And if you scroll down on the lesson plans, first it'll give them a passage about the topic. And then as you can see, it will also give you any of the documents that you would need to complete the lesson. So this is also a helpful way to find different lessons for your students. I like to use them for the ACAN practice for my students, so please go ahead and give this a look. So the last thing I'm going to talk to you about is some quick and easy lesson fillers. So sometimes you plan a really good lesson and you've written down how long each portion is going to take, but things go a bit quicker and you end up having a little bit of time at the end. So these are some different things that you can do so that you're not just awkwardly sitting there with your students silently. So the first thing is a game called Shiritori. It's actually a Japanese game, but we're going to play it in English. So you'll put the students into groups of about 4 to 6 people, and you'll give the students a word such as bird. And the next person in the group must say a word that starts with the ending of the last word. So with bird, it ends with D, so your next word must start with a D. So bird to dog, so G, the next word must start with a G. Guitar, the next word must start with an R. Red. And you're going to keep making the students go around in circles for each group, and they each have to keep going and going and going and going. And to make it more fun, you can also have the students be timed, so you can give them like 1 minute, and whichever student is last gets eliminated, and you'll keep doing it until there's 1 student left. There's also another game called Categories. For this game, you'll put the students in groups again. Then you're going to write like 3 to 4 categories on the board. You can write like colors, foods, animals, countries, etc. And then you're going to give the students a letter. So then they have to think of a word for each category that starts with that letter. And the first team done with correct spelling and such will get points. So this is a really fun one for the students. It's very funny because sometimes they spell things in very interesting ways. And the last lesson filler you can do are omikuji, which is the Japanese for fortunes. So this is a fun one to do in the beginning of the year, of the new year, because that's when people tend to go to the shrines to get their omikuji for the year. So for this one, you're just going to cut a bunch of strips of paper and give each student 2 strips of paper and have them write 1 good fortune and 1 bad fortune. And you can give examples and categories for each of them. So for example, I gave the categories of health, school, and love. So they had to write 1 sentence for each, and then you fold them all up, and then you have the students take one from there and read them, and it's really, really fun. So these are a couple lessons, and I hope they work for you. Okay, and so that's the end of the presentation. Thank you guys so much for watching, and good luck, and thank you. I hope that you enjoy Tokushima and that you don't go crazy staying in the hotel for so long. So we really look forward to seeing you, and have a good rest of the day.